We don't just look to the future, we build it. Welcome to Beyond the Verse. Hello, friends, and welcome to Beyond the Verse, Star Citizen podcast. I'm your host, Sulyce, and this is episode 142. We step into the calm before the storm. We're right in between Stella Fortuna, or actually we're during Stella Fortuna, and we're embarking on Alpha Force 7 that's scheduled to arrive next week. So new operational mechanics and evolving gameplay loops signal meaningful shifts in how we fight and how we fly and survive across the persistent universe. We're going to break down what's festive, what's functional, and what could quietly reshape the future of Star Citizen. Because sometimes the biggest changes arrive between the celebrations. Welcome in, everybody. It's been 2 weeks since our last episode. And let me just quickly, for those of you who care about the human side of things, last week was a cluster F. It was horrible. So in my job, basically for 2026 up to this point, for the last 3 months, it's been culminating in this massive operational planning document, right? If you're a nerd and you're at work and you know what an OP1 and OP2 like cycle is and what that doc structure looks like. I was the owner for Amazon businesses for this year, and it's a huge lift. It's very taxing. Well, it finally came to a head where I presented it, or my team presented it to our VP of operations last week. And that was like Thursday, Friday. So it was a very, very fast trip to Seattle. So I fly out on Thursday for a Friday morning presentation. And unfortunately, the city of Seattle decided to snow mid-March, which makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't snow in Seattle. I lived there for 2 years. It doesn't really snow there inside of the city proper. And yet it did on the day of me supposed to flying out. So I wasn't going to record episode 142 last week anyways, but the intention was to hopefully wake up early on Saturday morning and record it. So it was a day late, and long story short, I didn't get into Austin until Saturday morning at 6 a.m. because the whole airport and city of Seattle shut down. So not fun. Not fun to not really get a lot of sleep on Saturday and kind of survive through that weekend to get into this week, which was spring break for my family, which is a blessing. I love having the kids home, but just recovering and trying to figure out how in the world do I get content out and actually play the game to be able to speak to it. Pure chaos. pure freaking chaos. So welcome in. It's been a while. I hope this finds you well. I hope you had a great last week and a couple of weeks now since us talking. So a lot of things have happened. You're probably more than likely in the Force 7 PTU at this moment. I imagine that most of y'all, I think it was last weekend that it opened up to all waves. So if you're really not in it yet, it's because you're deliberately choosing not to, which is me. I did it in Evocati. I experienced what I needed to experience, and I haven't touched the PTU for that purpose. I want it to be a little bit on the fresher side when it drops next week. And I'm saying next week, I'll explain why in a second. But hopefully you're enjoying the inventory rework. Hopefully you're enjoying the crafting T0 and all the other additional things that came out last week as far as like the patch watch goes. There was an article on the Spectrum that went a little deeper into what else we can expect for 4.7, which they did this week as well. And we'll talk about it. We'll go into Inside Star Citizen. I've got roughly 8 items I pulled out and want to kind of talk through like I've been doing for the last several weeks now at this point. So we're not going to watch it together. It's a 7.5 minute video. Go watch it yourself. It's good information. It's great. But I'll, again, pull out the 8 things that I think is important and dive into it. We also have our drawing, guys. We have our drawing. Again, last week, just through social media, I announced that we had the CIG sponsored Aegis Peregrine with a bunch of racing gear and paints. That's going to be announced towards the end of this podcast episode. So stay tuned, stand by, and whatnot. Okay, real quick, admin notes. I'm getting a lot of first time listeners, and that's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining. If this is your first time in, just a very quick rundown. For the last several weeks now, I've done a Today in Star Citizen segment that's all over social media. So that I script the night before, and I will address that here in a second. I scripted the night before. I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go work out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I get back at 6 o'clock in the morning. I quickly record to get it updated so y'all have the freshest what happened yesterday, what's happening today, take on it. And very few of you are mad that I read a script. And I just, that's fine. That's fine. If that's not your thing and you would rather have this conversation, hey, I also do a podcast, clearly. So welcome in. But for those Today in Star citizens throughout the week, this is the point. The point is it's editorial. It is very scripted. It is a very hard hit, very quick pass by or fly by, using Star Citizen terminology. For what's happening. It's your shot glass of information. But there's a couple of individuals, and I'll take this as a compliment, quite honestly. But they're like, man, you sound like AI. Okay, and we've already talked about this on a couple episodes, so I'm not going to rehash that whole conversation again. But I kind of take it as a compliment. Like, cool. So for the last 9 years or eight-ish 9 years of me doing this, yeah, I mean, I come across as an authoritative figure. I don't think I am, so this is not a ego play. But I come across as like a authoritative, knowledgeable resource for Star Citizen. Great. If that is an AI perceived thing, I guess it looks like and sounds like I'm doing the right thing. Now, what is very difficult, some of you MFers know that I only have one monitor and it's 2026. And yes, I still just have the one monitor. I even bought a new monitor, but I never hooked up the second monitor because I'm like, I don't know. I'm used to alt tabbing. I'm used to this ecosystem on my desk. I'm okay with that. But it makes it really hard to teleprompter. First off, any type of news that you've ever seen, Fox News, CNN, any world news, they're all reading off a teleprompter. So don't start with me. You're all always reading teleprompters. Now you come off the teleprompter to have dialogue, clearly, but when they're talking directly to the screen, there is a teleprompter, and Elgato makes a really nice one. But they make a teleprompter. They have a teleprompter that's right underneath the camera. So they're reading to you. It doesn't look like it because it's far away, but they're reading to you. It makes it really hard on one monitor. My camera's right there. It's like up and to the left of the monitor. Monitor's right in front of me. You can't really have a teleprompter process without it looking very, your eyes are definitely moving, up and down with the teleprompter. So I'm doing the best I can, guys. But if this is your first time in, this is my opportunity to just kind of sit down. Now it's in the morning. I would say grab your favorite glass of Radagast is what I used to say, because bourbon and whiskey. But it's in the morning. It's 5:24 a.m. right now in Texas. Hopefully you're not drinking bourbon at 5:24, but no judgment. So like, hopefully you're chilled. Hopefully you're driving to work or you're driving to school or gym or wherever you're going. This is my chance to just be human to human with you and finally give my perspective, because during the week, I don't. During the week, it's facts, black and white. Here's what's happened. Here's what's happening. I don't really get into what Sulyce thinks. So this is my chance to do so. So welcome in. I think I've said that like 10 times now. Welcome in. All right, let me get some of my stuff set up so we can just get in hot and heavy with this. So this is my notes for the Inside Star Citizen we'll get into. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to start off with maybe the most relevant information. So we're going to look at the PTU notes. Now, these patch notes dropped 10 hours ago. Not a lot of like groundbreaking, earth-shattering information if you've been tracking this 4.7 update. But if you're like many of you who maybe have taken a hiatus and maybe Beyond the Verse podcast is your one connection to Star Citizen still, and you haven't played in months, I'm just going to catch you up on what you can expect, at least from here, the patch notes. in Alpha 4.7. So I'm going to share my screen for those of you on video. As you can see here, just boom. This is all backer PTU. Stars is an Alpha 4.7, a shitload of numbers, PTU patch notes. So pause it, scroll in if you want to, but essentially here are the notes. Going back to the screen here, let's go. Again, this is open to all waves. It's been all waves since this last weekend. No changes there. Let's go into the testing feedback. So obviously stability, bug fixes, long-term persistent between PTU releases. Yes. Operation breaker stations and QV breaker stations locations. Again, a couple episodes ago, I was tripping over the naming conventions. You've got the QV breaker locations and you've got the rock cracker mission. Okay. So if I have caused confusion, I apologize, but those are your difference in names. You have the inventory rework, you have the crafting fabricator and blueprints, the engineering updates, radar assisted targeting, and Nick's social stations. Pretty cool there. Still some known issues, not going to get into it. Features and gameplay. Let me go back to sharing my screen. This is fine. Features and gameplay, Operation Breaker Stations polish, so further level of detail, performance, and lighting optimization. Remove the ability to set and respawn at QV breaker station medical beds. Fixed various holes around the exterior of the location. The inventory redesign, further lighting and shadow visual polish. Updated support for mining gadgets and radars. And crafting, further fabricator and crafting audio inclusions. Down in core tech, we got VR updates. Guys, it's whatever. It's VR. I'm not really going to be pushing a lot of the VR stuff until it gets optimized. Now, you could say that about a lot of Star Citizen. There's a lot of things that are not optimized. But I've got a lot of friends who are playing in VR, and it is broken enough where you have to take it in short stints, right? You can't just go and sit down for like 3-4 hours and play without it bothering the crap out of you. I'm also hearing that there are some further issues with VR given the new inventory rework. So again, I can't confirm or deny that. I just have friends that are experiencing some issues there. So respectfully, take that with a grain of salt. Okay, let me just react to some of this. I've been to the QV breaker stations. I have gone in and explored. This is an Evocati, so several weeks ago. I don't really know if there's been changes in the P2 versions. So again, take that with a grain of salt. But these are phenomenal locations. I kind of equate them to the ASD sites, like back in Stormbreaker, like over in Pyro, and then obviously the newer Nyx QV site. So I kind of throw them together, and that's kind of the experience. If you wanted to have a little bit of a mental preview, but they're phenomenal. They sound good. They look good. The ambience is great. This is going to be a major, playing factor, but I do want to say this. I've never shied away from speaking controversy about CIG. Now, I will default on the side of positive, but I do want to be realistic with this and say as impactful and as I think as consequential as 4.7 is to Star Citizen, I still think it's not going to be the patch that brings back players, like the retention piece. And it's not really going to bring in new players. The inventory piece, which is huge, it's great, it's phenomenal. That is so you're going to get in, you're going to experience it for 30 seconds and then be good with it. Like you're done. So that experience is very short, quick, over. It's a phenomenal change. It's great. It's again, for those of us who've been playing Star Citizen for years at this point, it is a welcome change. But again, if you go to a friend of yours that stopped playing a year ago and you're like, man, you should jump back into Star Citizen because inventory looks better, right? Like that's going to fall. That's going to fall a little flat. So inventory is important, but I kind of shelve that. It's not that big of a deal. Now, I personally think that crafting is a huge reason to bring people in, but it's still T0. It is still the very introductory phase. phases of crafting. So, can you deconstruct existing items? Yes, it gives you 500 quality items. That's great. Does mining give you better quality? Do you have more options when you craft? Like, all of that is absolutely true, but they're still working on blueprints. They're still working on the balancing of the higher quality items versus the lower quality items. Like, it's still, I think people are going to get in, they're going to say, well, this is a great addition, but it falls flat yet again. It's like, well, it's not necessarily the future of what I'm thinking. Fair or not, people are seeing crafting and they're immediately going to base building, right? They're like, oh man, crafting is like the first step to base building. Slow the F down. Now, I don't disagree with you. Absolutely. Like, crafting is a major, component to base building, but good Lord, like, no, you should see crafting as crafting like your P4 and maybe a little bit of armor here and there. No, it's not creating the foundation of a headquarters that you can build on planet side. So I think that's kind of unfair. So again, are you going to go to that friend who hasn't played in a year or to a new player and say, man, you should join Star Citizen because of crafting? A lot of games have crafting. Okay. And again, I know I'm being kind of unfair. We should get excited about this, but there's a point I'm trying to make. I think, and this is the point, I think that the QV breaker stations or the rock cracker mission is it. I think now we're talking content. Now we're talking getting in and actually playing the game. Now, is it gated behind a crap load of redundant missions to unlock? Yes. It's just like the Nyx ASD missions or the QV sites from the last patch in 4.6. It's just like that. I mean, remember, you had to go through and you had to fight a billion freaking Vandal fighters, which is great, but it does get old after a while. Same thing here. In order for you to unlock the QV breaker stations, you got to go through a slew of missions. So there's a little bit of homework that you have to do before you can go straight into Rock Cracker. But if you've got that one sweaty friend who on day one in the first hour unlocks it, well, there you go. Now they can accept a mission. They can share it to everybody else. You can go in as an org and do it. That's great. So QV breaker stations are great for group play. It'll take you a long time, I think, to really experience the joy of the QV breaker stations or Rock Cracker if you're solo. So I think now is the time to join an organization. If you haven't already, Star Citizen is better with friends. So join an organization, especially for these types of mission drops. We heard that tactical strike groups are coming like very soon. They said spring of this year. So literally like now, between now and April. You're going to want that org. You're going to want those friends to play with. And honestly, Soul Provision's still killing it. We're doing great. We're in the mid 300s as far as members go. We averaged 20 individuals for org nights that happen Thursday nights. We have a lot of military, veteran individuals that know the language, speak the language, who monitor comms. Like, we have a very good thing growing, but it's not just Soul Provision. There are several hundreds of orgs out there. When the Foundation Festival comes in the next couple of weeks, there will be org spotlights, and really pay attention. Pay attention to, an org that kind of speaks to your beliefs, ethics, morals, whatever you want to say there, whatever your guiding principles are. But join an org soon, because Tactical Strike Groups is like the first raid of Star Citizen. So do it now. The point I'm trying to make, though, is this really isn't a patch that's going to move the needle for retention and new players. It's going to be a phenomenal patch for those that are still engaged in Star Citizen. So, my 2 cents. What are your 2 cents? Respond. Give me some comments. Respond to the Spotify Q&A poll. Get into the comment section on YouTube. I try my best to respond to every single one of them. It's not scalable or sustainable, but I try. But I would love to hear your thoughts on the true impact of 4.7. Cool. All right, moving on to the Inside Star Citizen. Let's talk about the patch report. So real quick, feel free, go in and watch this video again, about 7.5 minutes. It's a very quick shot glass of Jared speaking to us about 4.7. Some would say 7.5 minutes. It's too long to listen to Jared, but kidding. I actually love listening to that dude. But this was a great episode. A lot of good like teasing and ship mentionings, which we'll get into here in a second. But here is the Robert Space Industry website landing page for it. Quote, "Can you smell what the rock is cracking?" Nice. "Tune in as we break through the opportunities, features, and improvements awaiting you beyond the abandoned QV breaker stations in the upcoming Alpha 4.7 release." And so again, I did the due diligence of going into the video, watching the 7.5 minutes, probably 3 or 4 times, and extrapolating those 8 items that I thought were crucial or critical to the news cycle. Now, again, it's very easy to see 4.7 and say, all right, crafting, inventory, rock cracker. Beyond those 3 things, though, there are significant other improvements and there are other changes. And so here we go. All right, I'm going to pull this up and good Lord, we'll try to get through this. I prioritize this from top priority to bottom priority. So for me, here, hold on. These are not my notes. There we go. That's why I was like, oh my God, like, because it didn't look right. Okay. Crafting system. So number 1, crafting system. Awesome. First iteration is going to go live. Again, that's very basic. If you've been around for a day in Star Citizen, you've heard the news of crafting coming. But crafting, it represents a structural, I'm going to call it like evolution of Star Citizen. It's first off, it's brand new. It's net new. It's incremental to Star Citizen, to use some Amazon corporate buzz languages. It's brand new, but it plays such a major role in Star Citizen's or CIG's long-term vision, right? Shifts gameplay from like contract driven. I'm going to go in and take this one mission. I'm going to complete this one mission and then be done, within 30 minutes. It kind of takes that away and starts specializing in industry. They've been saying industry and prioritizing industry for the last several patch cycles, but crafting is like a true leap into industrial gameplay, right? It's actually getting into the business of industry and really playing into the economics. So the more you manage, the more you build, like in Soul Provision, we're talking about a guild bank. If you're familiar with like Elder Scrolls Online and World of Warcraft, if you're ever part of a guild, this concept is not new to you. I don't want to call it taxation. I think some guilds look at it completely wrong and say you will give to the guild bank if you want to be a part of this. I think that's wrong. I think taxation is the wrong approach. But the idea of building up your coffers, right? Like there should be a guild bank, which CIG needs to help with, by the way. That's a whole nother tangent I can jump on. But CIG needs to help us with some sort of org bank. But having our coffers filled with UEC, minerals, so that the larger goals like an org javelin or an org Wicklow Idris, you can really start pursuing those. But again, crafting is this like introductory phase into all of that. So I think that's super important. It's one of the most like strategically important systems that's been added in years. And again, it's not just a game loop. It's a foundational thread that goes through everything you do in Star Citizen. So number 1, crafting. Didn't want to spend a lot of time on that because we have been. So let's move on to the second one. We've already talked about breaker stations. I do think that new gameplay loop you should get into. You should watch this 7.5 minute video on. But it expands this already large sandbox gameplay model, right? It's just another thing for you and your friends to do, which you should never be against. I mean, the whole point of Star Citizen is sandbox PvE and PvP gameplay, right? All right, number 3, inventory system overhaul. Again, it's funny that I said beyond the number are the top 3 items. We should be looking at other things. Well, the top 3 items are absolutely right: crafting, breaker stations, and inventory system overhaul. What I have here is like there are some, like, beyond like freight elevators. Beyond freight elevators and many other systems within Star Citizen, there are pain points. There are very, very painful pain points in Star Citizen. Inventory is just one of those. It made no sense. We're in 2026. We have graphics cards that have DLSS 5 artificial intelligence that are creating frames and making things look realistic. Like, we're so far into the future in real life, not just in Star Citizen. For us to have something so basic as the inventory system we've had in Star Citizen, it's been very painful. It's like having an Excel spreadsheet in game and how to manage your inventory. In fact, I would actually welcome an Excel spreadsheet over what we currently have, because I can sort and stack and I can do a lot more things in Excel. So it's been very underwhelming, but the inventory system overhaul is finally that polish of the game, or at least it's a polish of the game it's just necessary, which is unfortunate because it makes you kind of deprioritize. It makes you kind of maybe not appreciate it as much. And those devs, right, the CIG staff that's working, on inventory deserve kudos and they deserve that praise. But it's one of those like, yeah, thanks. This is how it should have been from day one. Beyond the obvious and the reasons why it was so basic, like I get it from a developer standpoint, but this overhaul is going to be very important. It's just, I don't know. It's not going to be that thing that breaks the bank, right? All right, now let's get into some of the newer things, at least in my opinion. So, ship combat balance pass. So shields, armor, radar detection, and missiles. So Alpha 4.7 brings sweeping balance updates, including shield health tuning, armor penetration thresholds, radar and detection mechanics tied to equipment and power management, missile explosion behavior, and durability improvements for ship entry points. Okay. So this moves Star Citizen into its intended tactical fleet combat experience. There's a word salad for you. We had the tactical strike groups coming, so this makes total sense. It makes total sense for them to be focusing on the balance pass and the aesthetics, cosmetics, the audio updates. Like it makes total sense if they're going to be making this massive push, more than likely around Invictus launch week, that we should see tactical strike groups. But yeah, this makes total sense to update the shield's armor, radar detection, and missiles. All right, I'm going to be very insulting here. It has felt very arcade-ish. The ship combat has felt like an arcade. It's felt very, I'm going to say simple. I think some would disagree and say master modes and what was before master modes. I think they would say that it's actually a pretty complicated system. But I don't know. I think once you get used to it, it just becomes very kind of mundane. But like your golem should not be able to truly impact like an F8, anvil, an anvil F8. Like it should not be able to do that. You should not be able to. You should not be able to take out an Idris eventually, maybe 10 hours later, with all these light fighters. You shouldn't be able to, right? So again, the shifting away from arcade combat to like, I'm going to call it just full spectrum warfare. Right. So any movement towards that, super important. I thought that was a great call out. All right. Number 5, expanded industrial and mission content pipeline. So additional salvage contracts, new factions, new armor sets, and new stations are arriving with 4.7. Now they did say like 4.7x. Now, when we say 4.7x, it's like 4.7.1, 4.7.2. So they did go into 4.7x and said that they'll expand Nick's missions. They're going to reintroduce delivery gameplay, which I feel like they've tried for several times now through several patches. Delivery has been this like weird, like they have cargo hauling, but they've given up delivery, which for those of you who don't know, like delivery is like UPS FedEx, right? They're your, like you load up like 2 or 3 boxes and you go from point A to point B and you deliver those boxes. But it's kind of more involving than cargo hauling, in my opinion. You're not just like taking boxes. You're not standing in between your ship and the freight elevator and just taking boxes and loading. Fly and then reverse order. That right now is cargo hauling. Delivery kind of feels fun to me. It's like you land, you take a box, you have to either take a mule. You guys remember the mule? Good Lord. I haven't driven the mule in forever, but you have this mule, which is like a 6-box carrier. You would load that up and you would drive across terrain and you would go from like, location to location there and drop off. So again, you really do feel like an Amazon driver or like UPS and FedEx. But delivery missions are like, they've just not been in the game for a very long time, but we've seen them mentioned in patch reports like, hey, delivery is here. Well, we got rid of it. So it'll be kind of fun to see that come back again. Awesome. So reintroduce delivery gameplay and add bombing and destroy item contracts. All right, cool. Bombing, I think that's good. I think that's really good because we've got like ships like the A2, A1. We've got the Retaliator. So we have all these like, I guess Retaliator is not really a bomber. It's a torpedo. But we have all these bombing ships. But unless you PvP, I mean, I don't know. There's no real reason to have a bomber. I'm thinking like Jumptown. Like Jumptown makes total sense. Or if you're dropping like in Pyro and there's a crud load of NPCs or players in a location, yeah, bombing makes total sense in that moment. But those occasions are very limited. So this demonstrates to me, it demonstrates CIG's move toward like a live service cadence of improvement. Like I think this holistic change of broader missions and content is the right direction for a game that is approaching Squadron 42 and a potential 1.0. There, I said it. I said the buzzwords for the podcast. Which, by the way, I do still think we're seeing Squadron 42 in October. I think we'll hear the announcement maybe in the next couple months, like June at the latest, a summer of PR and marketing, and then we'll see Squadron 42 in October. So as we get closer to that, Squadron 42, when we get closer to Squadron 42, Star Citizen needs to be in a much better place. And so I think this pacing strategy aimed at sustaining players and the player engagement between major patches is crucial, is very critical. All right, number 6, progressive location scale and sandbox mission expansion. So breaker stations will later include non-mineral variant designed purely for sandbox missions, broadening their gameplay utility beyond industrial objectives. So yes, right now, Rockcracker is very much a mining push, like obviously, clearly. What they're basically saying is the Rockcracker stations or the QV breaker stations are going to turn more into, I guess, the QV stations that we have in Nyx already, kind of more of a broader, like a base of operations or I don't want to like say sandbox because that's the buzzword. That's the typical word, but just an open arena of different things that can happen. So again, I see the current QV stations in Nyx as being this like just arena of PvE and PvP potential. Whereas the new breaker stations are very, very tied to mining, clearly. All right. So maybe, it's very like, it's cheap. Okay, here we go. It's very cheap for a content creator to listen to Inside Star Citizen, and the only thing they pull out of it is, they teased ships. They mentioned the whole Bravo. Let's use that as content and push it. I mean, yeah, that might be a little bit hype worthy, but this is why it's way down on my list. This is why it's number 7 on my list. It's because it's very cheap to go in and say, hey, they talked about the whole B. Let's get excited. What do you think the cost is going to be? Do you have one? Like and subscribe. You know what I mean? Like, does that, I hate that. I hate that so much. Like and follow. Yes, they mentioned a couple of ships, right? So I'll list it off quickly. So the whole Bravo is finally coming to us as far as this patch, like 4.7. Now I'm gonna say 4.7.x. I don't know if it's coming literally next week. It could, it very well could be, but it'll come in 4.7. I just think maybe in a different week, in a different dot patch. But we got the whole B. We have a new UTV vehicle. Neat. Industrial promotion events and a mysterious quote, new star for space flight arriving with the patch. Okay. New star for spaceflight. I don't know. What do y'all think that is? Like, let's do the content creator thing. What do you think? What do you surmise is the new star for spaceflight? Now, I think it's a new ship, right? I do. I think it's a new ship. I think we need to pay attention to the word star. I don't think it's a ground vehicle. I think it's I think it's an aerial vehicle or an air vehicle, an air asset. And I know it's a space flight, so there's another clue. So new star for space flight. So I don't think it's I don't think it's like a remake of a hull. I don't think it's like a Mark II or anything. I think it's a brand new ship. I don't think it's the battle cruiser. I think they'll save the battle cruiser for ILW. But I do think there's a couple of interesting takes on this new star for space flight. And I think it goes straight. It's no longer concepts, because remember, the battle cruiser is the last concept. Everything else is straight to flyable. So the quote is, a new star for spaceflight arrives in Alpha 4.7. That's why I think it's a .x. It arrives in 4.7, not with 4.7. So I do think it's at some point in 4.7, but they did not say that it's a new ship variant. They didn't say it's a new industrial vehicle. They didn't say a new gameplay system. They said star for spaceflight. That's loaded, right? That is loaded for Star Citizen marketing. That's a very smart play by Jared. And I'm sure somebody fed him that quote. But it's a very smart play. So I don't think it's a ground vehicle. I obviously don't think it's a minor component. It's not a mission reward. I think this is it was meant to generate excitement. That quote was meant to draw visibility towards it. So I don't know. What do y'all think that is? I mean, I think that's a great question or poll question, not poll, but a question for the Spotify and YouTube. So yeah, obviously ship teases will continue to drive hype. It'll continue to drive discussions among the community. It's going to reinforce the space centricity of Star Citizen, right? Star Citizen is a ship game or a spaceship game. And of course, it's going to build community experience, right? However, or whatever the purpose of this ship is. So yeah. And last but not least, well, I guess by definition it is least, but number 8, continued PTU iteration and balance volatility. So they emphasize that many of the balance changes seen in the PTU will continue fluctuating even after live release as testing data comes in. Wait a minute, Sulyce, are you saying that what we get next week isn't going to be the same thing we'll see in 1.0? I don't think anybody's saying that. I don't think you're thinking that, right? I think the point that they're trying to make is that we're now entering, in my opinion, we're now entering this live operations concept or mindset. Every MMO, every game that has live operations after its release continues to iterate. It continues to balance and throw in new ideas and all the other buzz phrases like pivot and but it's going to continue growing. And I think I wish I had more of an influence on players' expectations. I truly wish I did. But this is not a bad thing. 4.7 is going to drop. And when you get into 4.7, you're going to start with your blueprints and you're going to create your rifle. And you're going to say, oh, this is really not that powerful. Why would I kill myself to get 999 quality items? It's going to change, guys. The balancing is going to change. Death of a Spaceman is going to change. Armor and ammunition or ballistics penetration, all of that is going to change. Like the game is going to continue to evolve. That's why I personally and a lot of individuals focus on like the foundational, the core tech, maybe the strategy and the overall direction of the game. I think that is more important. And I think y'all agree. I mean, I don't think it's very controversial to say that. I'm less concerned with, does a golem have the capability of taking out an Anvil F8? Should it? No, we can make that debate. We can argue, but it's so irrelevant, especially pre 1.0. It is so irrelevant. Okay. Good little pivot into what happened actually last week. So nothing this week. Last week we had Stella Fortuna drop, and this is old news. This is why this is towards the end of the podcast. But I do want to talk about Stella Fortuna. I mean, again, if you're playing the game, if you're actively engaged in the game, none of this is new. So let me just share my screen. None of this is new. You've already been to the site. You've already purchased your racing offerings and the Fortuna offers if you were going to. So this podcast is not going to move that needle at all. But I did want to respond to this game, and it was interesting. It was actually a comment on X that made me kind of realize. It had the epiphany of what they were actually asking. I'll get into that here in a second. I'll report the news. And then I'll respond to that person's comment. But it shaped how I wanted this segment to go. So Stella Fortuna is the St. Patrick's Day celebration. So outside of the game, St. Patrick's Day. Inside the game, Stella Fortuna. It's all about luck, right? So they do the green push. They do the shamrocks. So if you go into Arena Commander, everything is green and gold. Everything is shamrock. Get lucky. A lot of that verbiage, right? Vernacular. But this is kind of the racing event. This is the in-game racing event. So you'll see a lot of push towards the racing ships. You'll see a push towards like the paints and the flight suits. The Arena Commander Classic Racing mode that, again, we'll get into here in a moment. There's a video contest, again, all based around racing. So if racing is not your thing, more than likely this in-game event doesn't matter to you. So we're going to kind of move through this a little quick. It is a niche community within Star Citizen. We, last night for Orgonite, did racing for a little bit. It is fun. It's fun to low fly. It's fun to race. But again, I think it's one of those arcadish things where you get in, you fly a little bit, and you're like, okay, what am I really doing? Cool. So there we go. This first item, push your luck, show us what you've got. This is your contest. So Danger Schmanger, hit record and tear up the verse with daredevilish planet-side parkour. Ship-centric stunts or vehicular vaults. The best of the bone-cracking best will win ships, vehicles, liveries, and more. So start scheming your Fortuna feats now. All right, so actually let me click into that. Let's go through the things that you can win. All right, so here is your Spectrum post. Let's see. It tells you how to enter, what it should be, blah, blah, blah. Rewards. Here we go. First place. So in first place, you're basically getting what I'm going to be giving away. So the Aegis Peregrine with LTI and the Star Kitten Racing Livery. I'm going to say paint because livery, get effed. All right, a Poa Nox in-game vehicle with LTI and Star Kitten Racing paint. The Origin 350R racing suit, which actually that's my personal favorite racing ship, is the Origin 350R. I think it's a sexy racing ship. And then you get the Origin 350R racing helmet, the Fortuna racing suit, Fortuna racing helmet, I don't know why you're getting a P4 AR Fortuna rifle. If you're racing with rifles, I mean, you're expecting things to go bad, which you probably should. It's Star Citizen. In second place, you're getting the Origin M50. The Origin M50 is arguably the best racing ship for straight distancing. It's one of the fastest, if it's not the fastest ship in the game, which it's funny. I actually think, if I'm not mistaken, it is very fast. It's one of the fastest ships in the game. I think it's the Drake Herald. I think the Drake Herald is the fastest ship in the game. Y'all tell me in the comment section. I don't really want to go and find it in real time. But it's either like the M50 or it's the Herald. You would never race in a Drake Herald. I don't think you would. All right. And then in third place, the Mirai Fury LX with LTI, the Mirai Racing paint, Fortuna Racing suit, Fortuna Racing helmet, and the P4 AR Fortuna rifle. So get in there, make your videos. Awesome. All right, outside of the game, we have organizations called Anzia and Atmo events or Atmo esports. Inside the game, they do races. Moving on. Inside the race, Arena Commander. So if you want your chance at like the Origin motorcyclist helmet, right? Y'all have seen it, I think, on social media before. If y'all want that, it's very easy. Go to Arena Commander, do classic races, and just participate. And then you will get, at the end of Stella Fortuna, you'll get the Origin, the Giocoso helmet. We're going to go with that. Cool. And then paints and stuff, yo. In a flash, like every other event, in a flash of color, stand out on the starting grid. Make sure you're whatever. There's paints. Moving on. All right. Starter packs. Like most events, you're going to get a discounted starter pack if, again, racing is your thing. You've got this Duelist Lucky starter pack, which, again, the Avenger Titan in the background here, the Avenger Titan is a phenomenal starter ship. I think that's a great starter ship. We got some racing sets, ships, paints, uniforms. Here we go. If you got money to spend, go spend it. I will come into every event and at least get the new items. And so this is very easy to go to racing gear, and you see this little icon on top of the cart. It says new. I just go through and I get those. So I've already purchased the racing gear pack. I didn't buy the 350R racing suit because, hey, guess what? It's in the racing gear pack. So don't do that. Don't just go through and get all the new gear because you might be double dipping. So the 2956 racing gear pack, this middle uniform is the racing suit. So don't do that to yourself. Racing paints, same thing, new. It even thank you CIG for also mentioning full collection. So thank you for that. But same concept. You go in here, I got the racing paint collection that has all the paints, full collection. Let's do this. Let's talk about maybe the most controversial thing. I don't know, if I want this camera, if I want it just, you know what, here. Me and you. Let's have an intimate moment. Ship exclusivity. Up to this point, the Phoenix, the RSI Constellation Phoenix is a limited, or was a limited hull ship. Okay. If you want even more exclusivity, the RSI Constellation Phoenix Emerald that was only offered during Stella Fortuna was also a limited hull ship. It is no longer that. It's no longer limited, and it's no longer exclusive in that way. Does that matter to you? I don't know how I feel about it. And guys, I'm usually, I try my best to be as transparent and open with y'all. And I usually have my mind set when I do a podcast. Hey, here's the topic and here's how Sulyce feels about it. I am telling you right now in this moment, I don't know how I feel about ship exclusivity in this moment. We already knew that every ship was going to be able to be crafted in the game. We already knew that. They already made that comment several Citizen Cons ago. So if you wanted the Idris, right now, you can go and get the Idris for free by doing the Wicklow event. There's Wicklow. Now it's going to take you a long time to do it, but theoretically you can get yourself a Wicklow Idris. So as expensive as the Idris is, and as exclusive and limited as the Idris is, yeah, it's free in game. You don't even have to spend money to get it. So I think there's a shift in mindset that needs to happen. We need to get away from ship exclusivity. But there was something about offering the Constellation Phoenix Emerald as just, if you have $360, it's yours. I mean, for a limited time, but time bound is different from just availability. So I don't know. Like I was always proud. I was always proud of having like the Phoenix Emerald. And this is where like there's a dichotomy for me. I was proud of having the Phoenix Emerald, and yeah. When I flew it, I knew I was really like one of the only ones on the server that had it, because of its just again its limitations. But now everybody could have one, and so there's less of like a reason for me to fly it. I'll be honest with you, there's no real reason to fly a Phoenix. It looks good. It's really nice on the inside, but I mean, it's not the best cargo hauler. It's not the best. It doesn't have any medical asset in it. Its game loop is luxury, so theoretically VIP transport. So it doesn't really have a lot of function in the game. So, and now everybody could have one. So I'll be honest with you. I don't know when I would ever fly it again. And that is such a privileged place to be able to say that. And I recognize how that sounds and how that comes across. But now as I start thinking about these other ships, like for instance, I also have the 600i Executive Edition. And if you know what it takes to get the Executive Edition, I'll leave it there. Just I'll leave it there. And I'm really proud to fly it. Please, CIG, let's do some 600i rework so it's actually worth flying. Please. But like that is one of my favorite ships to fly around, because it's like, and I even called it the Beyond, because it's a reference to what y'all have done with me in creating the Beyond the Verse podcast and creating Soul Provision. So it means a lot to me. It's nostalgic. It's sentimental. So like 600i Executive Edition called the Beyond, freaking amazing. CIG can make a decision right now and say, you know what? Everybody can get it for $200. And I'm like, oh man, that's kind of a kick in the balls. Because again, there's a pride, not like pride as in like, pride is downfall, or the pride before the fall, whatever that phrase is. It's not like that kind of pride. It is the journey it took to get there with you to get the 600i Executive Edition. That is special to me. And CIG can make a decision overnight that just strips that away. Is it still important? Is it still named? Is it still a beautiful ship? Absolutely. But I think the divorce in your mindset needs to happen now. I think this is a great, great reality check of like, hey, if you are hung up, if your laurels are hung up on ship exclusivity, get rid of that shit sooner rather than later. Right? If you're proud about that one ship that no one else really has, you need to get over it. And that's kind of me speaking to myself as well. So again, I saw this, was like, that doesn't feel good. I guess at the end of the day, we knew it was coming. It kind of flew in the dark of night when this event dropped. And you're like, oh, okay, Roger. What are your thoughts? Like, well, what are your thoughts on ship exclusivity? Because that was, for me, it was it was kind of a shocker. Okay, so that's it. That's Stella Fortuna. Go in, have some fun. So here's the person's comment. So the person's comment on X was like, hey, I heard you can only experience Stella Fortuna in the PTU patch 4.7. Because I went into 4.6 and didn't see any changes. There it is. Right? There it is. I think CIG could do a lot better with making their games, their in-game games, more in-game. Right? Like you go into World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls Online, if it's a holiday, things change. Like the cities change, and there's, holiday lights across buildings, and there's, holiday trees. They're freaking Christmas trees, but the holiday trees around town, and like things just change. And there's the Halloween lanterns and pumpkins, everywhere. Like every season, like things change inside the game. I am looking forward to the day when I go to Orison, the city in the clouds, and the season has changed the cosmetics of the area. Like St. Patrick's Day or Stella Fortuna, it'd be really cool to see some of some decoration inside of the game to make it really feel like the event is present and it's not just a mode in Arena Commander. So again, Stella Fortuna is one of those events that if you're not engaged in the website, you could totally blow past it and it not, mean anything to you. Giveaway time. Here we go. Giveaway time. We are giving away the Stella Fortuna 2956 giveaway, which is the Saber Peregrine with lifetime insurance. Excuse me. The Star Citizen digital download pack, which yours truly still doesn't have, ironically. So I think I have to buy the game when it comes out. I don't know how that works. You get the Saber Star Kitten paint. So for those of you who really want the pink and blue and white liveries, paints, whatever, guys, whatever. But it also contains the Fortuna Racing helmet, the Fortuna Racing suit, and again, the P4 AR Fortuna rifle. So for those of you who haven't been to the website yet, this is going to close down right at the end of the episode. But for future giveaways, it's just beyondtheverse.com/giveaway. You can get there by going to podcast giveaway directly through the URL. There's also an announcement bar, which I realize it's actually not on. It's not on right now. I don't know why. But there's an announcement bar up here that also would have you be able to click on it. But the webpage is called the Supply Crate current giveaway. A little video. It's cute, whatever. Closes today. But the engagement question was, Stella Fortuna favors the bold. What's the biggest risk you've ever taken in Star Citizen? And did luck carry you through or leave you drifting? So with that, let's get into the actual giveaway. Here's the Excel spreadsheet. All I've done is hidden doxing columns. I've added column alpha for the random number generator. So we're going to do exactly that. I'm going to go ahead and pull that number down. I'm going to make that into text so it doesn't change on me. Here we go. So we're going to filter this now. Boop, boop. And now I think we did smallest to largest last time. Yeah, so let's do largest to smallest. Here we go. So RSI username Master Pravis. So congratulations. Great win here. The Peregrine is an amazing, amazing ship. And their answer to the engagement question is, I was moving from Pyro to Stanton, 3,000 CCUs alone, direct jump, because I was tired and wanted to finish the event and lost it all due to pirate interdiction. Yes, it is very, very dangerous for you to do really anything alone, especially when you jump from location to location. That sucks, my friend. That sucks. And I think we've all been there. Okay, so last week, well, not last week, 2 weeks ago, episode 141, let's get into the Spotify polls in the comment section. I asked, what part of Star Citizen are you most excited for next? So kind of like 4.7 and beyond. Here we go. 50% of you are more excited about inventory rework than the other options that I gave. 50%, that's huge. Huge. 25% of you said the capital ship services. Awesome. 12.5% of you say engine tech updates, and then 6.3% of you said the PTU-47 systems, and another 6.3% of you said new missions. I honestly thought new missions would have been a little bit higher, quite honestly, because that's kind of what you do in the game. And what's funny is inventory rework won, and I'm thinking, well, that's the most basic thing that you'll experience and have fun for like 30 seconds and then be like, all right, what's next? So prove me wrong. Let's go to the comment section. Here we go. Done. Soundwave Ghost writes, I voted for ship services because I believe that's a version of tier 0 for their new plans for ship services such as refueling, refit, and repair. Cannot wait for other services like that. Like, I can't wait to actually think through an Orgnite where it needs to have refueling. And then you have the Ironclad coming out that's going to have the ability to repair ships as well. That's going to be really, really cool to introduce into the game. All right, Whack Attack writes, the coolest dynamic scaring I think of is scarring. So the coolest dynamic scarring I can think of is Fable 2. Excuse me. There were resurrection potions you carry around when you were killed. They'd bring you back to life with a scar. The scars would even glow different colors depending on your karma alignment. For the poll, I say inventory because it's dire, but I'm really looking forward to the Genesis soon. Yep, 100%. Lastly, boats have horns, so maybe it's less beep beep and more womp womp. I had to. Yeah, I don't know, but planes don't. Like ships make sense. Like I kind of see a ship as a ground vehicle. Like you're in a medium, like floating on water, but just like you'd be driving on land. So I kind of see like cars and ships very similarly, but planes, I think it's just a whole different ball game. But it is funny though. Like instead of like the Idris having like a neat neat. How funny would that be? It would be hilarious to have like a massive foghorn. That'd be hilarious. All right, Christian Oliver Cosma Holm. If I completely butchered your name, tell me I suck and I'll agree with you. Quote, thank you for yet an awesome episode. Always grateful for the work you put in. How's fundraising going? Man, what a great question. Let me pull that up real quick. All right, brand new. Not brand new, but latest and greatest. We have raised $590 against a goal of 2,000. So our overall team rank out of every single team participating in Extra Life, we are ranked 94th. 590 over 3 months. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, we probably have some work to do, but a lot of what I make from the podcast will also go towards Extra Life as well. So there is that. So thank you for asking, truly. Any new milestones reached? No, not yet. With the inventory system that is coming, one feature I like is a way to inspect other people's loadouts, like in World of Warcraft, to find out the name of the armor pieces. I like that. So you're walking around town, like this happened to me in Pyro. You're walking around in Pyro, you see somebody just run past you and you're like, oh crap, that looks amazing. Like how in the world? Well, in World of Warcraft, you can quickly right click that individual and you can see like what they have equipped. And so that's their point. It's like, if I could find out, I really like that one dude's helmet. I want to find out what that helmet is called, find out how to get it, and then pursue it in the next couple of days or weeks. So I think that's a great call out. Rob Sandbach writes, great episode on the medical carrier. My use case is to sling one on my tack when I'm soloing Hathor sites or bunkers. I've mainly used it to top up the beds each time I respawn and top up the pins. I'm sure many can solo them just fine, but I sure as hell need the respawns and pins. Great work on the podcast. All the best from Manchester. Thank you so much for being engaged. Truly. Phage the Untouchable writes, for the same reason that most of us want sound in space because it's cool, we should have the option to have a horns on our damn ship. Just let it happen. Look, that's fine. I do it. Put horns on the ships. I just don't know why you would. I don't know. That's my, I don't know why. It's fine. All right. So Jason Funk writes, PTU ruined the PU for me. I need that inventory rework. Yes. One of the issues with doing Evocati and PTU is like you get in it and you're like, man, this is awesome. I can't wait for it to actually come to the live PU in like 5 weeks. So it's like a major tease. If you liked to be teased, Evocati and the PTU is for you. If you really don't like to be teased, like the majority of us, yeah. Right there with you. PTU ruins the PU. Hazed Gamer writes, to touch on Maelstrom. If a place gets destroyed, I think it'd be cool if we could take contracts to bring resources to help speed up the rebuilding process. In my Elite Dangerous days, I loved bringing resources to space stations that were damaged by aliens and helping take refugees to other safe havens. But Maelstrom could also definitely be used in nefarious ways. Interested to see how they make it work and how in-depth they go with it. I think, I could be wrong. I could be. I very well could be wrong. I think when they first brought up Maelstrom, I think they did talk about how, like, that's the reason why they're introducing, recovery missions or repair missions. Is like that is the concept. Is like, you should absolutely, if you have an objective and it's a major objective and you have to go and whatever, and it's destroyed, your mission now becomes to repair it first. And so, yeah, the crafting plays an important part of that as well. So if you're able to craft what is needed for like salvaging parts or however, but going and repairing a pipe before you can turn in a mission, yeah, I think that's what they've said. So you might be hitting the nail on the head. I mean, truly. I don't have the quote, but I'm very, very positive that was the whole, like if you remember in, not Stormbreaker, in the Lazarus sites, was it Lazarus sites? The ASD sites where you had to go in and it's like a puzzle where you had to repair the pipes. I think that's like the first introductory phase into that, where you had to repair before you can move on in the mission. I absolutely think that that's the case. All right, last, Dan. So I got $1 billion question for you. Yay. In this year, I've been playing Star Citizen. I've been playing most of the time I get in the game and see it move forward a lot. Of course, I only play for a year, so have only seen a small part of it. There seems to be a lot of controversy about this game costing near $1 billion. But as far as I can tell, they are building 2 games. So really it's 2 at the cost of 500 million, or am I missing something here? Love the great work. Keep it up. Okay. I mean, that's a whole nother podcast. That's a whole nother podcast. So yes, almost $1 billion in funding. In fact, while we're here, just because you did it, you did this. All right. You did this. So let's go into funding real quick. Sharing my screen for those of you on YouTube. What is it? Community funding? No, is it Explore funding? Here we go. Explore funding. Let's look at where we're at today. All right, we are at 0.9 billion. 0.9 billion. So $951 million funds raised. Right? Huge. Huge. Okay, so you have to remember now 15 years is it's a long time. All right, I don't think we're debating the time, we're debating the cost. This is a studio that had to be built from scratch. It's not Rockstar Games that already had a massive infrastructure. So when they took on the 10-year program of Grand Theft Auto 6, they didn't have a jumping point. Right? They didn't have this launch point of like, well, we already have infrastructure. Now we just need to build the game. No, they had to build the damn infrastructure. Right? So they borrowed a lot of tools and tech, and they kind of, they evolved into AWS systems, a lot of changes. Right? So, and that's what me and the Astropub and Space Tomato, we've been tracking for 3-4 years. They've been doing it a lot longer, but at least the 3 of us for the last 3 years, been really diving into the tech and what's been created on the back end. But you have to remember that a lot of that is overhead. A lot of that is like building the damn studios, the technology, hiring the individuals. So like that funding, it's not like 0.9 billion has gone into Star Citizen. But you are correct that it's both games. And so Squadron 42 has been the primary. I know that's a lot of individuals don't really see that or think that because the playable game right now is Star Citizen. But Squadron 42 is the main effort. It's been the main effort. So you have this massive game with huge actors and voice actors coming in. The overhaul, again, this is a whole nother podcast. But to quickly answer your question, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of what you said. It's the money divided by 2 games, even though it's using the same infrastructure and the same build. I don't know if I can say that. The same technology. We'll just leave it there. The same technology. So you could divide it by 2, but it's not as clean as that. So I think that answers your question. I think it's a great one. Hit me up in Discord. I do recognize your name. Hit me up in Discord. We can have an actual conversation about it. But maybe that's a podcast that I bring like Space Tomato on, and the Astropub on. We have that conversation. Where did your $0.9 billion go in Squadron 42 and Star Citizen? And with that, we wrap up episode 142. Thank you all for being here. Truly, truly thank you for being here. I hope this has found everyone well. If you want to become part of the conversation, you can do so by responding to the Spotify poll in the comment section, the YouTube comment section. You can email us at contact@beyondtheversehq.com. But everything you could possibly want to know about our podcast or in-game organization, Soul Provision, can be found on our website at beyondtheversehq.com and soulprovision.com. We do have the Extra Life. Like, again, thank you for that question. We do have the Extra Life philanthropy effort going on up until the end of the year. We are going up against a goal of $2,000. We have $590 going towards that. This is for children's hospitals, right? So all your dollars, all the proceeds go 100% pass through from us, or I guess through us, from you, through us, directly to the hospitals. So it's a great cause. We did really well last year. Let's keep it up. Again, enjoy Stella Fortuna. By this time next week, hopefully we'll be in 4-7 and we have a lot to digest and talk through. Safe travels as you traverse beyond the verse. Take care, everybody.